Hello, everyone. I'd like to share with you an idea that is quite interesting in our Jewish life, and it is taken from this week's Torah portion, which is Doshim. So there is a statement there that says, "Et Shabotai Tishmoru," that you shall keep my Sabbath. It's interesting that the rabbis and the sages have said that more than the people have kept the Shabbat has kept the people. Now, how is that? We put a lot of effort into keeping Shabbat. Keeping Shabbat is not easy. You have to stop using technology and you have to immerse yourself in a different kind of life. You cook before Shabbat, you leave the lights on before Shabbat. So, how is it that Shabbat keeps us? So, many people look at Shabbat as a day of rest because the Torah says that Shabbat is a day of rest. But it's much more than a day of rest. It's a rest of the mundane. It's a rest from the physical and the material. It allows us to enter into God's domain, into God's world. On this day that God rested on Shabbat, we all have an elevation, and we elevate to a much higher place, a much, much higher level, which is God's domain. And that kind of elevation is one that starts Friday night. We enter into a place of tranquility, yet it hums with a tremendous amount of spiritual and divine energy. Shabbat is actually not only a day of rest, but it's a day that we focus on the Creator. As it says that 6 days a week you shall work, so you think about the material world, you think about the material and physical energy that exists, but you don't always recognize the Creator who brings it into being and gives it life. On Shabbat, we actually have the opportunity to go beyond the physical energy, tap into the spiritual energy, and to recognize God. So on Shabbat, when we don't use technology, we actually are able to form, we have the ability to make relationships that are not artificial. It's not like a social media relationship or a relationship through a device. It's a relationship that's real. It's a relationship that's genuine. A relationship with God, a relationship with the Torah, and a relationship with the community. And even in these days, when we don't have the ability to physically get together, there is a relationship between us and the community just by knowing that everybody in the community is doing exactly the same thing. We are praying at the same time. We are reciting Kiddush at the same time. We're enjoying the meal at the same time. And mentally, we are all connected and we yearn for the time that we can come together as a community. But the idea is really one of relationship, genuine relationship. And when you think about that, that what makes up the person is the genuine inner soul more than the physical trappings, we can now understand the statement of the sages that more than us keeping the Shabbat keeps us, because the Shabbat makes sure that we remain focused on our spiritual needs, our spiritual compass, that we remain totally committed to God and totally committed to the Torah. And because we devote ourselves for the keeping of the Shabbat, we're guaranteed that Judaism is going to survive all the way to the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Thank you very much for joining me today.